Hello, welcome everyone. Eid Mubarak to those of you who are celebrating, and full moon Mubarak to those of you who are not. There was a really beautiful full moon out a day or two ago. How has everyone's week been? Let's go with Susie.
Um, it's been a stressful week. It's been a very stressful week. But it's over now. It was just all, personal stuff. But other than that, everything's going okay now. I mean, except for President Harris is trending, and that's a little bit disheartening for me.
Mm.
So that's all.
Why? Who do you want?
Well, the reason that she's trending is that they're saying there was a guy, the guy who did the Dilbert cartoon, I think it was him, put a post out, a tweet out that said, just put a headline out that says what something you think will happen in a year from now. And he said, I'll start infrastructure bill stalls. And then everybody started writing President Harris visits Joe Biden in the dementia unit. So there's that.
Yeah.
I think
But
we'd
that's the
sooner pull.
overwhelming. Yeah,
Oh,
that was the one that won.
yeah. We'd
Wait,
sooner do
has
like
that
a weekend at Bernie's with him just standing up and being pushed around and sort of than leave him in a dementia ward.
Yeah, might as
did
well.
Biden do something that is starting this whole rumor or
Not that I know of. I just that this guy he's a well-known guy and he tweeted out that thing and everybody just jumped on and you know, I'm sure he's older and I'm sure there's memory problems at work there, but also he overcame a stutter and it still creeps up and sometimes he stumbles over words, like most of us do, but he's got a huge platform. He's got the platform and he's overcome a stutter. And so I don't know that it's fair to assume that he's got mental problems because he sometimes has a problem making himself understood.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe he does have a problem. I don't know.
Well,
All I know
I've
is
seen no evidence to say that he has a problem. I
Yeah.
definitely think that he has the stutter issue makes it look like he has a problem when he doesn't.
Yeah.
But also, I think he's become such a surprise to me in how effective he's been as a president
Yeah.
that it's hard to imagine that he does have dementia. Like, I don't know how he
Yeah.
can pull off what he's been pulling off without being lucid.
I
He's been.
also don't think that he's naturally a performer. Like
Mhm.
some people are performers, he isn't. And so he doesn't have that energy boost or that limelight
Yes.
Yeah,
sort of
which is
buzz.
part of why he's so effective, I think, is he's
Exactly.
working in the background in a very
Yeah.
senatorial kind of way, right? Making these deals, doing the negotiation, and all of a sudden we have grand legislation.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have to hear every single word that comes through his head,
Yeah. Unfiltered.
which is a really, really nice thing. I mean, that alone takes pressure off substantially for me.
I mean, he's been the type of president that he was presidential candidate, which was he hit. He was in the background. You hardly ever heard him. You hardly ever saw him. And he let Trump blow himself up.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
All
mean,
right.
I think that's the key to Trump, right? Is just to compliment him right off a cliff.
yeah. And so as a president, I think he's sort of had that attitude too. Like, I'll let Mitch McConnell say stupid things, and I'm gonna just get work done in the background.
Mhm.
Ramesh,
Yep.
did you want to say something?
Yeah, how do you think Joe Biden celebrates his Eid?
So what
Enough
holiday,
chat. Yeah,
Did he put something out publicly?
I have no idea. I'm just trying to wrap up Eid and then move on to the conversation of the day.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah. Yeah. For those who don't know, it's basically Eid al-Adha. It's several days. When does it end, Ramesh? Was it Friday that it officially ended? Like,
He did. He put out an official
okay,
statement.
There we go. Statement by President Joe Biden on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. Jill and I send our warmest greetings to those celebrating Eid around the world. The Eid tradition and Hajj rituals of providing for those less fortunate in commemoration of Abraham and his son's devotion to God carry a special meaning this year as we continue to navigate the challenges of COVID-19 and work to respond to and recover from the global pandemic. Blah, blah, blah. The Hajj, which convenes people from all walks of life and from every corner of the globe, is also a reminder of Islam's commitment to equality and the shared roots of the world's Abrahamic faiths. Blah, blah, blah. On behalf of the American people, we wish all those celebrating a safe and wonderful holiday. Eid Mubarak.
And yeah, it ended on Friday.
It ended on Friday. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Ramesh, how are you doing?
Doing well, doing good. Still worried about surveillance, as always.
Surveillance?
Surveillance, as always.
How did that come up for you?
It didn't. It's just the background worry that escalates. And then, oh, we've had some terrible climate news in the past week too, right? California keeps burning, flooding in China and Europe, and where else?
Germany. Did you say Europe? You said Europe.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then another
that
heat
was
wave is on
bad.
its way.
Yeah, another heat
Yeah,
wave is
oh my
predicted
God,
for
yeah,
the
the dome or what is-
Midwest all
yeah.
the way to the Pacific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna hit 100 for the first time today, I think, which is weird.
which is weird.
The hurricanes have been quiet so far, right?
That scares me.
Me
No, I'm
too.
serious because it got off to this really noisy start, and then all of a sudden everything just
Nothing.
went away.
Nothing.
And
Yeah.
I think what we want is a nice, steady hurricane season where hurricane after hurricane boils up and takes off to get that energy out of the system instead of
Yeah.
build, and then it goes all at once.
Yeah. I have a friend I met for Eid. We were meeting each other. Great, congratulations. And his new thing is he's going to be an insurance adjuster now.
Oh, wow.
He says that it's so lucrative and it's wonderful because we have these disasters coming in month by month.
Wow.
Yeah.
I also want to just make a note here that Roy Woody is taking a hiatus because Susanna Woody, his wife, is running for commissioner. And they have, I know, in Travis County, which is in the Austin area and beyond. So we will miss him for the period that he's gone. And we're hoping to bring in correspondents. So this week it's just us, but starting soon, we will be having correspondents coming in and sharing their wisdom and insights with us.
Yay.
I guess I'll go next. I'm doing pretty damn good. I do eBay shopping, secondhand shopping on eBay, and I got this shirt for $5, y'all.
That's awesome.
I know, I'm pretty damn happy. I love owls.
Yeah,
I love the colors.
That's-
Look, it's gorgeous.
it is. It really is. It's gorgeous. It really is nice. $5.
$5. Well, $5 plus I think $4 something shipping. It was worth it.
That's what gets you. Fucking shipping.
And tax. Don't forget tax. eBay charges tax now.
Did
Yeah, and I bet it doesn't go anywhere. I bet the federal government sees none of it.
Right?
Also,
Like
some
Bezos.
other good news. We just got rid of an old vacuum cleaner that was the bane of our existence. We got a new vacuum cleaner in today. and
Right on.
So we were vacuuming so happily.
Happy
That's what
vacuuming
happened.
to us all.
Wow.
May we all have peaceful, joyous vacuuming in our lives.
Wow. I hope you all suck.
Safe vacuum. Like one of the things that it said on the package is don't vacuum hot burning coals.
Did it really say that?
Yeah, it did. It said don't do smoldering embers either. I was thinking,
So was that the batch that was supposed to be sent to Mississippi and it got sent to Texas?
So here, what happened? Did they have a different warning for Hawaiians? Like don't vacuum lava?
Right? Oh, God.
I mean, your house is going to catch on fire. You're out there with the vacuum cleaner trying to suck it up. What other warning should they put on this?
Roy, how are you?
Ah, damn.
I'm really happy to be in Central Texas where the weather is cool and everything is green and lush. And we're not, in like a blistering hot state like Oregon, where I don't know how humans survive under those conditions. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're just in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
100 today is, but it's July 25th, so 100 today is pretty crazy.
That's pretty fucking amazing, honestly. The last couple of summers have been like that though.
They've been
where
weird.
it doesn't, they don't get hot until like August.
Yeah, and then they stay hot until October.
Or a little later even sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just God, man. And
before the
it's
freeze, I was harvesting tomatoes in February.
I remember. And then
Yeah.
it all went to shit. And now we're back in the stage 4 here in Austin.
We are in
COVID
stage
stage 4.
which means
Does that mean anything for the folks who are walking around HEB masks?
Mask mandates are supposed to be back in.
Okay.
when did you hear something?
No, it's not state, obviously, because Greg has come out and said absolutely no mandates. But I think the city has asked people to start wearing them again. It's not, of course, but mandatory, which would make a mandate. But I think that stores and stuff like that, like HEB. Yesterday, I went into Randall's. Ugh, hate Randall's, and everybody was masked. So I think people are just taking it. Maybe they're just taking it upon themselves.
Yeah, we went somewhere public and most people were not masked yesterday, but that's still more than a few days ago because we landed from Mexico where everybody was masked except for some of the Americans, into Texas. Nobody is masked. We were like, what is happening? So we never, yeah.
So
Go ahead,
yeah, COVID and climate updates aside, last time we talked a little bit about the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, the War on Terror, all of its various nonsenses.
Patriot
And
Act.
this week we're transitioning a little bit into talking about the effects of this war that take place internationally on us, on things that take place at home as well. And yeah, Patriot Act is a good place to start out. What is the Patriot Act? Where did it come from? All of this. I think we heard actually a little bit about this last time, right? Could you refresh us, Dr.
Yeah.
Brenda?
So last week we said that the Patriot Act actually was created by Bill Clinton administration in the aftermath of the attack in Oklahoma City against the Murrah building, the federal building that was blown up by Timothy McVeigh by 2 white terrorists using fertilizer. And the whole idea behind it for the Clinton administration was they just wanted to sit on it until there was another terror attack and then they would implement it. And of course, the next event really was 9/11. There was stuff in between, but 9/11 was the big high profile event. And so the Bush administration instead then became the guys who promoted the Patriot Act. It was sent to both houses of Congress with the opening paragraph explaining that no one could read past the opening paragraph, that it would be such a secret piece of legislation that the senators and the representatives voting on it wouldn't know the contents of it.
Oh, Jesus.
There were 25 no votes in the House. Bernie Sanders was one of the no votes, in case, for those of you who looking for a little consistency. There was 1 no vote in the Senate. There were 3 people who were missing that day. Domenici of New Mexico, and then Jesse Helms and Strom Thurmond. So 3 of the furthest right senators, like you really couldn't get much further to the right at the time, couldn't make it that day, which is really interesting to me, in terms of timing. Like, really, what were you doing? You couldn't vote. And so I've often wondered if that was their way of saying no without saying no against the Bush administration.
I don't know.
Right.
I just don't know. I don't know what that was about.
I mean, we were just talking about dementia, yeah, I'm not being flip when I say this, but he maybe he forgot. He wasn't doing good.
I mean, he wasn't, but
yeah.
he was 100 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
your expectations needed
I
to be
mean-
appropriate.
Yeah.
So
Dementia or not, he had definitely lost some goings.
And the
on.
one no vote in the Senate was Russ Feingold. So one of the great disappointments in my life was that
Wow.
Paul Wellstone voted for it. For those of you who don't know, Paul Wellstone was the liberal who was murdered in a mysterious airplane crash when he was running for office in 2002.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
I
So what happened
remember.
was when the Republicans assassinated Mel Carnahan in the 2000 election, he was running for the Missouri seat. Mel Carnahan was traveling with his son, and the plane mysteriously went down, and it killed him and his son. And then his wife got appointed by the governor to replace him because he won the election. He beat John Ashcroft. So just, you know, John Ashcroft then became the Attorney General for George Bush Jr. But it's really remarkable because how did that conversation go? Hey, John, I need an Attorney General. I hear you were defeated in an election by a dead man. Are you looking for a job? I'm looking for a highly qualified person that pretty much everybody in your state hates so much they'd rather have a rotting corpse represent them in the Senate. So what happened when they decided to kill Paul Wellstone is they made sure that his daughter and his wife were on the plane, so there'd be nobody for the governor to replace him with. So that was
Wow.
yeah,
terrifying.
Brilliant.
yeah.
So
Lesson
what?
learned. Get the whole family.
That would prevent
So what
some
is the
political
Patriot?
dynasties pretty well. But yeah, Susie's question: what does the Patriot Act actually do? Why were we not allowed to read it?
Yeah.
So it was leaked after it was passed. Paul
Mm-hmm.
Wellstone actually, just because I think it's worth sorry, not Paul Wellstone, Russ Feingold, it's worth saying what he said afterwards. He said, this might be the best bill ever written in the history of humanity, but I can't vote for something I'm not allowed to read. It's my duty as a senator to make sure every bill that gets through is a good bill. And I can't do that if I haven't read it. And so
What was the idea behind not letting them read it or mandating they
It was
don't read
super
it?
secret.
yeah, super
No,
secret.
but how can you even do that? Like that just goes
How's-
against every.
Okay, so
It's
AOC
like
just
that.
came
It's gotta
out.
be illegal.
Well, AOC just came out and said it said what we all knew is none of her colleagues read those bills. I mean,
I know, but
yeah.
to say you're not allowed to read it is a whole nother story.
well, wasn't there something we talked about earlier where everyone was supposed to it was another situation like this where you had to vote on something, and I'm talking out of my ass right now, but I'm pretty sure that I remember us discussing something similar to this having happened where they're not allowed to read it, but they have to vote on it. I don't know. Benefsha, is that legal?
Yeah,
I
and then
mean-
speaking of processes like that, like what this is probably a subsequent question, but what takes place with these FISA courts, which have, you know, we have courts, they issue rulings, we have no idea where, when, or how or they're interpreting things, all of this stuff.
I mean, if the whole idea behind having a liberal electoral republic, and I mean liberal in the broad sense, not the pro gay marriage sense, right?
Right.
If the whole idea behind having a liberal electoral republic is that you're going to have transparency, then transparency catastrophically died. It was murdered in the United States Capitol building in October of 2001, because not only was the bill that they passed not transparent, but then the mechanisms they put into place that followed, like the courts, the secret courts that issue warrants so you can track down terrorists. Once that went into effect, we became a secretive police state.
Wait, what are the warrants?
So let's say I think you're a terrorist, and I work in a law enforcement agency for the federal government. I can go to a secret court, the FISA courts, yeah. And when I go to that court, what I can do is I can go to this judge and say, this is the evidence I have thus far. And the judge then issues a warrant to allow me to now basically hack your computer and spy on you, and then figure out if you are in fact a terrorist. Well, I mean, that that goes against the whole idea behind the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. So that's what the USA Patriot Act did, was effectively destroy the Fourth and Fifth Amendment.
So is this only certain agencies, intelligence agencies like the CIA or FBI, or any police department can do this?
So first of all, I've lost track, but at one point I tried to count the number of intelligence agencies we have in the United States, and I think it's 17. I feel like it's a number like that.
I was thinking you were going to say 0.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Brilliant,
Intelligence, United
brilliant.
States, total oxymoron, not possible. So yeah, the answer is any of those 17 agencies, federal marshals, Secret Service, like there's all these different agencies that could do this.
And they had the police departments. They had brought in the police departments as a tentacle to help them.
So what they did was they created special anti-terrorism task force
yes.
in police departments,
Yes.
so that the USA Patriot Act effectively could work.
In fact, one of them came after Roy. The Austin Police Department anti-terrorism task force.
Get the fuck out of here. What happened?
2006.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
That's the show.
Maybe we can go into it today. But
What the hell
Wait, so
happened? They
to give you a bit of an idea around like rates and ratios and these kinds of things, the FISA courts apparently never reject any of these warrants that come their way. Over their 33-year period, they've granted 33,904, had 12 rejections over that whole time period, of which the majority were only partial rejections of these requests.
Wow.
Yeah, so this isn't, a court where things are being deliberated. It's a lot more rubber stampy than that.
how do we write FISA? How's that written?
FISA.
Yeah. So FISA is a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court.
Gotcha.
FISA.
And the A is actually for act.
Oh, yes.
Right. But they're secret courts with secret judges.
Secret.
Secret orders, the secret warrant.
And Ramesh brings up an important thing. The FISA courts existed before the USA Patriot Act. So what the USA Patriot Act did was it sort of weaponized the FISA courts and took it one step further, because the USA Patriot Act effectively attacked the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. So the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, so there is no right to privacy in the United States. Nowhere in the United States Constitution is it mentioned. It's not there. What happened was in Roe v. Wade in 1973, the famous abortion case, what the Supreme Court concluded was that the right to privacy was implied by the Fourth and Fifth Amendments. And therefore it did exist. The problem was that the founding fathers did, James Madison. The problem was that James Madison, the guy who authored all our original documents except for the Declaration of Independence, he couldn't have anticipated tape recorders. And so he didn't realize the need to put in a right to privacy. It was already implied just simply because they didn't have the ability to do anything meaningful in terms of spying on you. And so
Is it because it's so specific when it says a person has a right to their papers and isn't that what the Fourth Amendment says?
The Fourth Amendment says there's no unlawful search and seizures. In other words, you have to have a warrant to go into somebody's house. So there has to be convincing evidence that you have in fact broken the law. And the courts, it was so serious that before the USA Patriot Act, if a police officer broke into your house entered your house with a warrant because they thought you had pot and they found a dead body in your house, you clearly murdered somebody, there was nothing they could do about it because the warrant didn't allow them to search for the dead body. That was wrong. And so obviously the police officer is going to go do something to figure out how to justify getting the warrant.
Yeah.
But that's how serious we were about this. This was an important foundational legal issue for the United States. And in the aftermath of Roe v. Wade, it became even more serious because, right, the whole premise was I don't have to testify against myself, which means my voice recorded with me not knowing that I was being recorded was in effect me testifying against myself, which is the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment protects you against that. And now if you do anything electronic, any way, shape, or form, and it gets recorded, it is totally admissible evidence against you in a court of law. The Fourth Amendment and Fifth Amendments are gone. The danger, of course, with that is it does impede and erode and undermine the First Amendment as well, because it makes it so that, do I want to say this? You're going to come after me with it later.
Yep.
And so there's been a very serious erosion of our rights. And
Yeah.
Congress keeps renewing the USA Patriot Act every time it comes up. It used to come up every year, but now I think they renew it every 5 years.
Yeah,
And
and then I think part of the problem is that we are often promised with these pieces of legislation or when these systems are initially put into place that they only exist for either those internationally or non-US citizens or something like this, right? And then inevitably the leaks start to come out that this sort of surveillance is taking place domestically as well or with US citizens as well.
right. And actually, it was so full blown at one point that there was a whole legal explosion within the Bush administration about how far they could take it. And interestingly enough, Mueller and Comey, who were in the Bush administration, right? Because both of them are Republicans. I think a lot of Americans are confused about that. Ended up in a battle against Gonzalez, the deputy attorney general during the Bush administration. He's a Texan. He came over with the Bush administration, and the reason why they got into a battle with him was because Ashcroft got sick, right? The guy who was beaten by a dead man. He got sick and ended up in the hospital, and so he effectively became the attorney general. And the whole reason is because in the opening days after 9/11, not only was the USA Patriot Act taking away the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, the Bush administration went even beyond that, and they were in a zone that was so out there, it freaked out men like Comey and Mueller. And they literally put one guy, I don't remember the exact sequence, but they put one guy in Ashcroft's hospital room to block Gonzalez. And then they put the other guy with George Bush Jr. to try to talk him off the precipice. I don't remember who took the hospital room, Mueller or Comey.
Wow.
Yeah. And then this is not like discontinuous with democratic administrations, right? So it's not like this is a partisan thing where Bush was doing this expansion, then Obama comes in and conserves and sort of pulls it back a little bit.
I mean, I think there is a little bit of both under Obama. So the Bush administration, like I said, went really too far. They backed off of the precipice. For the record, there was a lawsuit against the Patriot Act. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that in weighing security versus your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights, security obviously should come first, which I found really amazing.
What was that thing about if you give up your freedom for security, you deserve neither? What was that? Wasn't that a thing for a minute?
So it was definitely post 9/11. I don't know that it was a real thing. Like it's frequently attributed to Ben Franklin, but I don't think Ben Franklin actually said it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say who said it, because I didn't know who said it. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right.
I don't know who said it originally.
Yeah, I wonder what 9/11 meant, what it did to the sense of security, sense of belonging of Muslims in the US.
Yeah, I think Muslims were right. This first group of domestic folks who were under strong surveillance. So the alarm bells start ringing in masjids first, I want to say. Am I projecting that? I don't know.
No, I mean, so my brother came to the US in 2000. And right after 9/11, he got a letter from Homeland Security. It became Homeland Security. It was not Homeland Security until then. It was INS, Immigration Naturalization Services. So he gets a letter from Homeland Security and starts getting several, in the very beginning, he was getting several visits. And a couple of men would show up to his apartment. And they wouldn't tell him. It was always at night, and they wouldn't tell him they were coming. And so kind of like catching him off guard in the act, whatever they were looking for. And then Yeah, once that initial period was over, it started happening every 6 months. Again, he didn't know when it was happening, when they were coming. And every 6 months, something like that would happen. So he was officially under surveillance. He was told that he's being, you know, yeah. And that was, and I remember asking him, well, how do you feel about that? He's come from Iran. So he's like, "No, whatever.
It's like home.
It's all right. I mean, in Iran, we're surveilled 24/7. I mean, if inside your house, they are constantly watching and listening to see what you're doing in your house. Are you having a party? Are you mixing genders? Are you listening? Are you dancing? Are you drinking alcohol? I mean, it's surveillance 24/7 all the time, everywhere. And so he wasn't really fazed by it. He was like, what's the big deal? Like, this is all right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, yeah.
And now
this is a step up.
And all of these people are freaking out about people coming to offer the government coming to offer them an inoculation of a vaccine.
Mhm.
Everybody's freaking out about that. But here we've got people being harassed constantly. I mean, it's somebody's job to harass an individual. I don't.
Yeah.
It's
And shut up,
ridiculous.
professors.
And why aren't I mean, where did the white supremacists go on the terror watch list? Where do they fall into this Patriot Act?
They were completely below the radar. It wasn't even a whisper in anybody's ear, not even in their imagination. It wasn't on the radar, period. But
Had they never been to the South?
Sorry?
No, but that's okay. That's not terrorism. That's just showing Black people where they belong.
Right.
Oh,
It's a form of education.
But I think this is a really interesting moment for Roy to tell us one of his stories about being surveilled. Yeah, I think this is very. What'd you say? Do you think this is? Do you want to share it?
Sure. I hadn't planned to.
We're way past. It's like more than a decade.
It was 2006. It was
Okay.
just 5 years after the Patriot Act went into
Yes.
effect. So I went to Houston to go visit my mom, and
We were living in Austin.
we were living in Austin, and I get a phone call from Banafsha, and she goes, "You're not going to believe who showed up."
So what happened was I'm sitting, I am in our apartment, UT graduate student housing on Lake Austin Boulevard. And it's like 8 o'clock at night. And it's a Sunday night. Well, Saturday night. Well, Friday. It's Friday night. It's Friday night. And Roy, it's the beginning of the weekend. Roy's gone to Houston. All of a sudden, knock on the door. I go open the door. I'm all by myself. There's
we're missing a step.
gee.
We're messing this up. So a month earlier,
Uh-huh.
my
Got
mom gets an interesting visit. Police show up. And so my mom goes, "Let me see your badges." They show her the badges, but I don't know what that does for anybody anyway, because like you could have a fake badge. So they show the badges and they say, we're looking for Roy Casagrande. And my mom's like, what is this about? And they go, "Somebody's looking for him." And she goes, "Oh, it must be his dad." At which point they go, "Yes, that's who it is. His dad is looking for him." And my dad and I were in contact. So my dad was not looking for me. So they just were looking for a way to gain her trust and enter the house because they're clearly unethical. Well, it's a police state, like the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany or North Korea or the Islamic Republic of Iran. Anyway, so these pathological liars enter my mom's house and they come in and they sit down and she offers them drinks and they interrogate her for 2 goddamn hours. And this is a woman who was, in her 70s. Yeah, she was 76. And so they're interrogating a 76-year-old woman who was on 6 different heart meds. And they asked her everything about me. They asked her what my ambitions were. Like, what did I plan to run for president at some time? It's neat that they figured out I was eligible. I really appreciate that. And they asked all these, what political party is he part of? And she told them everything she knew. My mom's nickname after that became Scopalamin. And so she calls me up and she goes, Roy, I think I screwed up. I go, what happened, Mom? And I'm thinking like she banged her fender or something. And she tells me the story of the cops. And I'm like, holy shit, Mom, why'd you tell them everything?
Why?
Like, you know.
No, but right after that, we're actually sitting. So we kind of freak out because we're thinking, were these really cops?
Well, no, we start freaking out because they never contact us.
Yeah.
Because she said, you want me to give my son's number to you? And they're like, no, we'll figure it out. And she's like, okay. And
You just came here looking for him.
yeah. So one
figure it out.
month later.
1 month later, so in this 1 month, we
We
are
call the
terrified.
cops.
We call the cops.
Because
Yeah.
we think somebody was casing our house.
Yeah, scouting the house to come rob it or do
But it's-
who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So they show up at the door. I see these two white men and they looked coppish. I'm like, what's going on? We're looking for Roy Casagrande. I was like, wait a minute. So somehow it came up that two people were sent to Houston and I start chewing them out like big time. I'm like,
Nice.
what are you people doing?
Yeah.
So I'm getting loud, I'm getting agitated, I'm getting pushy, and I'm like, I'm taking all my aggression out on these assholes. And they're like, ma'am, it's all right. So their eyes are widening, they're like, oh shit.
We have pissed her off now.
This is not good. So they say, well, is he here? I said, no, he's not. When is he coming back? I don't have to tell you anything. Who are you? I don't even know who you are, ma'am. These are our badges. I don't care.
Yeah.
What is an anti-terrorism task force in the police? I've never heard of that. I don't
Yeah.
know about you people. Okay, ma'am, here are our cards. Can you tell him to call us? It's like, fine. I'm like calling Roy on the phone immediately.
What the fuck?
So I call the guy up and I go, hey, what's this about? And he goes, so let me just tell you who I am. I'm Officer so-and-so with the terrorism task force. And I start laughing, but he had that voice that you get when you know you're doing something stupid. And so I'm laughing at him on the phone, and he goes, we have a few questions we'd like to ask you. Do you mind meeting with us? And I go, yeah, I'd be open to meeting with you. And he goes, do you want us to send an officer to Houston right now? And I go, no, I'll come see you in Austin. So I immediately get off the phone. I call a friend of mine who's an attorney, and he says, hold on. And then he hooks me up with a friend of his who's attorney. I'm going to plug that law firm. They're Flood and Flood. And in Houston. And so I can hear them on the other line, and they're like, fucking fascist motherfuckers. What a bunch of shitheads. They're trying to silence Americans. This is bullshit. First Amendment. Where the hell's the Fourth and Fifth Amendment? And just stream of cussing. So they go, meet us in the morning. Our office is open at 8 a.m. or whatever it was. And
okay,
we're going to interview you.
Just to set the stage, this Flood and Flood guy, he's one of the floods that the friend is talking to, and these are like high-powered downtown Houston, 34th floor type of people. Okay, go ahead.
So I go and I meet, and the guy's like, "Look, you're my client now. I'm your attorney, so I can't say anything to anybody after this moment. Just tell me. Let's just start there. Is there anything to any claim of terror?" I'm like, laughing. No. And he goes, is there a possibility you even know a terrorist? I'm like, other than the cops, no. Other than my friends in the United States military blowing up Iraq and Afghanistan, no. Don't know any terrorists. No terrorists out of uniform. Let's just put without an American flag on their shoulder.
There you go.
So he's like, well, just in case, give us all your email accounts and passwords, and we're going to go through your emails. And I'm like, okay. So I give them everything, and they go, all right, we're your attorneys. We're doing this pro bono. And I go, look, I just, right, when you say pro bono, like, is it pro bono forever? And they're like, we're your attorneys. It's done. we're going to take care of you.
Wow.
So I go, okay, cool. And so they call him up. They call up the police officer and they go, we are Roy Casagrano's attorneys and we represent him. And anything you say, you need to say through us. And we want to know why you want to interview him.
Yeah.
And the guy says, I can't tell you for national security purposes. So they turn to me and they're like, they hang up with the cop, right? And they turn to me and they're like, all right, so we've been told that they can't tell us why. And we think that's just bullshit. We want to fight these guys and we want to undermine them and we want to disrupt any efforts that they have. And we know how they operate, right? Every fascist is like this. They're OCD about lists, about people striking names on. So what we would like to do, if you're willing, is we want to make you into a point of resistance and refuse to interview with them. And I said, okay, I will do that on the condition that you swear if something goes wrong, no matter what it is, like they really come after me, you will never drop me as a client. Like I need to know that there's a net underneath me. And they go, yes, we will fight tooth and nail to the end, pro bono the whole way. But you know, there's a risk. We need you to know that there's a possibility that you're going to piss off the state and the state's going to come after you. And I go, let's do it. I'm a political scientist. This is awesome. I want to fight for the amendments. I'm a firm believer.
So I remember that day when they were having the conversation, the word Supreme Court came up. They were looking for, I mean, by 2006, was it?
Yeah.
People were so pissed off. People were so angry about this growth of fascism. And there was nothing we could do because there's this veneer of national security and we're about to get another 9/11. So we got to let everything just go by and not question it. So
right.
this was especially folks who are like in the legal system were like, we're just looking for ways to push back.
Yeah.
So we
rightfully
refuse
so.
to interview and months go by. And I don't know where anything is, right? Like, I don't know what these.
Oh, we're given a piece of paper to put in all the cars in case he gets pulled over because the cops can take him.
Mm-hmm.
The cops had become, like I said, that the security apparatus had the state security apparatus had become tentacled into local police departments.
I think that's pronounced apparatchny, right? Is that how that? My Russian isn't so great. What did the Soviets call it?
I don't remember.
Anyway, so here, after a few months, my attorneys called me up and they said, we want to change our legal advice to you. And I said, okay. They said in the beginning, they had told me, if you want, we can clear this up and we can get it over with. We'll go in with you, you interview, we'll be right there next to you, giving you advice. And we get this off and your name comes off the list and we walk away. Or option 2 is we fight. And I went, let's fight. So that was our option. 2 or 3 months later, they called me up and they're like, we need to change our advice to you. And I said, what do you mean? They said, we strongly recommend that if any pressure is ever applied, that you refuse to interview. And I said, why? And they said, we think it's a trap. We think that they're going to get you into the interview and then they're going to disappear you.
Which is what was happening.
And so they said, we strongly advise you ever interviewing voluntarily. Like, I mean, if they arrest you, that's a different story, but as long as they don't arrest you, never volunteer for it. And so that's where it left off. I still have the thing in my pocket. And it's 2021, so it's 15 years later.
Well, there was also something I think you might have left off, and that was at some point in one of the conversations with the police, the topic of you had said something questionable.
They finally, after months, my attorneys did get the police to say this. They wanted to interview me because I said something of political concern. At which point my attorneys went, he's a political science professor. Presumably everything he has ever said is of political concern. And then they said, not only do we know the Constitution, but our client knows the Constitution. You're fighting the wrong dude. Just shut up.
At that point, I think some months before that, somewhere between 2001 and 2006, you were somebody in Houston, some radio station talk show host
That said some,
had said something about you. This is
without
conservative.
mentioning my name.
Without, yeah, that there is some professor in political science in this college that is corrupting the minds of the youth. I mean, not putting it that way, but like,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Yeah. And then at some point somebody posted on not on Facebook, on YouTube, that I was an anti-German racist. And I find that hilarious. For people who don't know, I'm not only part German, I've
That's
lived
what
in
Nazis
Germany.
call it now.
And I'm
Anti-German
actually a German speaker. And
Yeah.
like, you know, like
You
anti-German.
I would clearly be a self-hating German, I guess. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Jesus.
so it's funny for me to be an anti-German racist.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so easy just to call people names though and have it stick. I mean,
But you know what, also
There's-
all the groups, you know, like if you said he's an anti-English racist, okay, you know, or anti-Swedish racist, but German, do people really have that much sympathy for Germany?
I don't think so.
I don't know. It's-
Yeah.
Just as a footnote, Roy's mom, she's passed now, may she rest in peace, was Egyptian, and she looked extremely Egyptian. And so when those cops visited, I bet all sorts of red flags went
Yeah.
up.
Because they asked her point blank, what are you? And she's like, I'm Egyptian. So your son's
What are
Egyptian.
you?
God, I hate
Yeah.
that fucking question.
What are you?
Oh my God.
Because
I don't know, but you're a piece of shit.
I wish I were alien.
Yeah, you fucking, oh, what a horrible thing to say to
Mhm.
someone.
So for me, I see this through line, and maybe again I am projecting this onto this history, but I see this through line between Patriot Act events that happened to you, Roy, and to many other people I imagine across the country.
We have a friend, a
And-
nurse, who was approached by the FBI, same circumstances, like a year later. And another friend who was a kid in high school, they actually came and took his computer. It was all in the same time period.
Yeah,
The woman was white, but she's married to a Palestinian, and she's a nurse, 5 children.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the kid, he's half Palestinian, half Lebanese. I mean, clearly there was, you know, people of Arab descent were being
Mhm.
targeted.
mhm.
For the record, the kid was Christian, raised Christian.
His mom was Christian, paraphernalia all over the house, and they still like.
Yeah, my mom was Christian, and so like, oh,
Paraphernalia.
and
Paraphernalia refers to the wall of crosses.
yeah, paraphernalia crosses. Yeah. So her brother, the Iranian brother, name an incident where Iran has attacked the United States in a terror attack. Like,
There
why
isn't
would you
one.
ever investigate Iranians? It's,
Axis of evil?
I mean,
Brown.
so then now the answer is our goal is to make people hate us so much
Mhm.
that maybe they will someday in
Our
an act of
goal
vengeance.
is just to create an enemy.
That's exactly it. So
Yeah,
the
just
whole-
like
It's-
1984. I mean, you have to have someone to fight
Mhm.
constantly, the war machine, right?
Mhm.
and so the end answer is that all of this, they never disrupted a single terror attack, right? It's worth pointing out, here we are 20 years later. The underwear bomber, it's because they messed up in the underwear bomb design. The shoe bomber, there was a mess up. The Times Square bomber, there was a mess up in the design. In other words, every terror attack that hasn't gone off, it's because it got fouled up by the terrorists, not because we had law enforcement stop it. There was that one plane, that the Saudi plane, or the plane, was it coming from Saudi Arabia? There was a plane where the Saudis called the United States up and said, hey, there's a bomb on this plane. And so the Saudis once saved us from a terror attack. It was a cargo plane. There were, you know, other than the pilot, the co-pilot, nobody would have died unless it had hit a populated
Yeah.
center as it went down. But you know, like the only time we can talk about foiled terror attacks is because the terrorists foiled a terror attack.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, the guy who shot up Pulse, his mom even called and said, there's a problem here. And nobody, I think they interviewed him once. And then the parents called again and said, it's something really bad happening. And they
Mhm.
didn't do anything. And he went in and killed all those people.
Mhm. I think he's a successfully integrated, assimilated American.
I did
as a
too,
mass
because that's
shooter.
what
Yeah.
a white guy would have done.
Yep. Thank
Yep.
you for
That's
that.
what a virgin white guy with an assault rifle would have done.
Incel. Let's
Good
just call them
God.
what they are. They're not
Yeah.
involuntarily celibate. Nobody wants to fuck them. That's the end of it.
So I think we're kind of running out of time. I
Yeah.
want to end
Yeah.
this on an interesting note.
Okay.
So the whole time I've been in the US, and I have felt, I just want to talk up until the 2016 election. So where I was up to 2016, all through, this anti-terror sort of mania, all of it, since 2000, especially since 2001, 9/11. I've had a sense where this is not where I belong. I'm not, nobody wants me here necessarily. I'm here on borrowed time. There's just this belief that it's just a matter of time before I'm thrown out, or if a specific, more specifically, if a white person is, if I'm having interpersonal relationships with a white person, they're pretending to actually, when I say I'm from Iran originally, it's all sort of a performance that we do where they don't want me here. I know they don't want me here. Like this sort of, we're just going to do this dance. We're never going to become close. I'll always be suspect, but we're going to do this dance and we're going to tolerate, or you're going to tolerate me, which is my favorite sort of interfaith word. I'm
Yeah.
very facetious,
Interfaith,
right?
Hell. They're trying to,
Okay,
they
so-
tolerate queers.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So yeah. 2016 comes around. We're all in a shock. By February, there's a program that CARE Austin has put together. CARE is, Ramesh, CARE stands for Council on Islamic American Relations.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the biggest nonprofit. It's the biggest advocacy sort of entity in the United States working on behalf of Muslims. And we're all working together. And my job, along with a bunch of other folks, was to, so let me just say what the thing was. This is Texas Muslim, Texas Capital Muslim
Capital
Day. Thank you. And it happens every 2 years with the session. One day, Muslims are bussed in from all over Texas, and these are Muslim kids, high school kids, are bussed in to learn about lobbying. It's sort of a citizenry best practices kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Meet your
legislator, learn how to talk with them, put your asks out. It's sort of, and on that day 2 years before, in 2014, things had gone terribly wrong. And one of the legislators had taken the microphone from a Muslim speaker. This is all on the Texas steps. Taken the microphone from a Muslim speaker,
Biederman?
white woman. No, Biederman got elected.
Oh, was that the one who was on?
Yeah. I'm not going to name names. It's all right. Yeah. They're no longer there. And they had gone off on Muslims not being Christian, being damned. What are they doing here? All sorts of stuff. So this is post-Trump. Trump has already taken office. This is February 2017.
Yeah.
And we put a call out, and my focus was getting as many people as we could get to surround these 700 kids.
I was there.
Right? Yes, to surround these 700 kids. And we were thinking, we put the call out. By the way, this was supposed to happen on a Monday or a Tuesday. On Friday, the Muslim ban was passed. We couldn't get much traction until Muslim ban. Friday, Muslim ban passed. By Tuesday, we had 2,000 non-Muslims show up at the Capitol. 2,000 people. We made international news.
That's right.
we had 3 layers of folks, mostly white folks, surrounding these kids. And we had Trump supporters with their AK-47s hanging, walking like shokals. What is it? Jackals, like just walking, right?
Just scary. Yeah.
Very scary.
They're just kids.
Yeah. So somehow we pulled this off. The event, nobody, and we had like folks, we knew what had happened 2014. We had a whole, I don't know how many legislators standing behind the speakers in solidarity, holding hand, linking arms. It was one of the most beautiful things I had ever experienced as an American. I remember walking from the steps of the Capitol to a church where we were going to convene to have lunch and then kind of get our bearings and go back and do do the actual lobbying, because that was just the preamble, right? The steps and the speakers and whatever. That was the morning. The work was actually going to happen after lunch. And I remember doing this plank walk, the anti-plank walk, from the Capitol towards the street. And all these 2,000 people, and I think more people had joined because it was humongous.
Yeah.
And they had lined up this walkway. And I remember all the Muslims were crying.
Yeah. We had a fellow who runs one of the mosques here came out to the Texas Employment State Union thing where I was part of the queer group there. And he came out and thanked us and spoke to our community specifically for coming out and being part of that. And then the Muslim groups showed up for us during the bathroom bill. It was just, and these are 2 groups that you would never think would come together. And they did. And if we can do that, why can't we bring other groups in to do this?
Okay, one more story. It's right around the same time period. A dear friend of ours organizes. I can't remember what he called it. It was the where we stood in front of the Nueces Mosque.
Oh yeah.
To show solidarity with the Muslim
it's
community.
Muslim Solidarity Committee. Yeah, that was
ATX.
ATX.
Yeah.
Another organization that just popped up right after the
Trump's election.
Yeah. It was before Trump's election. Was it before or right after? It might have been right after. Yeah.
I think it was right after.
Yeah.
In any case, the one of the main organizers is Jewish. And so that added a whole
Jewish
awesome,
and queer.
well,
sorry.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Is it Matt? I'm sorry. I think I know this person. It's Matt.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's Matt, right?
It's Matt.
Matt.
It's Matt. He's one of the dearest human beings ever.
Ever.
And so we go, and people are coming out of the mosque, and they see us. We're holding up signs saying,
Matt Korn, y'all. In case
Yeah. Now you just outed him.
"Yeah, we just."
Whatever.
In case you didn't know.
In case Matt didn't know.
In case. So people are coming out of the mosque. They're bursting into tears. We're bursting into tears because they're like, "You love us," and we're holding up signs saying we stand with our Muslim neighbors. Anyway. I'm standing there at the front entrance later on. At one point I was further down the line, but I go over to the front entrance, and Matt Korn and the Imam have their hands around each other. And Matt has a yarmulke on, and it's a rainbow yarmulke, and it's covered in bling. And I mean, I'm crying at this point because this is such a beautiful coming together moment. And Banasha turns to the Imam and says, "I really think you need to go into the mosque and announce that this mosque is in solidarity with the LGBTQ community."
Wow.
And
Wow.
she doesn't have her hair covered. The Imam's hugging a queer gay man.
Totally
Queer gay man.
new times.
Queer Jew.
Man.
And he walks into the mosque and he does it.
Wow.
This Imam.
That's he's
He's
amazing.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
He's the one who came to the
Omar.
meeting.
Yes, Sheikh Omar has since passed. it was a big blow to our community in Austin. He was Sheikh Omar Ismail, is saying his name because we want to remember how special he was. Yeah, he was a champ. He was him and I used to text all the time about yes, things that were controversial within the community, within the Muslim community, and trying to figure out how to broach those. And yeah, big loss, big loss. Anyway, the whole point that I'm saying this is, even though 9/11 created much craziness and pain and suffering, some of us who it grazed, right? Some of us did get disappeared. Families did get destroyed. Some were returned to their countries of origin, even though they were American, naturalized.
There were 150 naturalized U.S. citizens who were deported.
Yeah.
Aren't there some still in Guantanamo?
Yes, I was going to get there. So much damage done to Muslim individuals and Muslim countries, all of that. For those of us that it barely grazed, it brought us together. It made us wake up to what we needed to do. It got us organizing, created lots of solidarities between Muslims and other groups in the United States. It moved us along, I think, in sort of the liberation path. So, yeah.
I mean, I think that the end of the story is that the struggle goes on, whether there are many setbacks, and maybe this is the best we can do, is just be in a state of permanent
We
struggle.
do what we can. It's always been this.
I mean, it's always been this.
It always has been this. We are supposed to be in permanent struggle.
I mean, I
Which
think
is-
that's where we are.
That's where we are.
Yeah, it would just be nice if we could all struggle against the same thing. on
I
the
mean,
same
that's
team.
actually
But
a really
that's-
important
yeah.
point. So, like, I'll also add this part to it, which is my own personal frustration in all of this. So, like, I would show up to the pro-gay marriage rally, or I would show up to the pro-abortion rally, or I would show up to the let's fight for the environment, or let's fight for workers' rights. But then when we were having an anti-Gaza massacre rally or an anti-Iraq war rally, it was shocking how that population of people that I had stood up for and worked in solidarity with weren't there. And it would make me think, so wait a minute, you're willing to fight for your issues and I'm willing to fight for your issues, but when it comes to genocide of Arabs or Muslims, you're absent. So at some level, the message you keep telling me is, yeah, I really don't care if those brown people are bombed in their sleep in their apartment.
But I
buildings.
think Trump kind of changed that narrative.
It may be he brought us closer together. I don't know that that's totally there yet.
No, of course not. Yeah.
I think he did open the eyes of some of the activists who've been fighting so hard for one thing, to look over and say,
Wait a
oh,
minute, this is
hey,
all connected.
yeah. So I do think that happened, at least.
I agree. And I think that's one of the powerful, I think Trump was a necessary evil. I am very happy we had him as president. I hope he doesn't get a second term and that Kamala does beat him in 2024. But, at the end of the day, we kind of needed him because he's the guy who made it clear that all of these issues are related and interconnected. And if you fight for one, you're going to lose.
And that our fight is liberation, period, from
For
systems.
everybody.
Really?
For
It's
everybody.
Liberation from systems. That's what we need. Ramesh, did you want to say something?
I have too much to say on each of these things, and I want to make sure we're abiding by our scheduled time. So I'm going to hold my peace, and we will have plenty of future opportunities.
Well,
to
we're
talk
going to
about.
have a part 3 because we still haven't done what we set out to do.
Which was what?
We still haven't talked about the United States withdrawing from Afghanistan.
That was kind of a big part of this.
What we're talking about next time?
Well, so here's a question that we need to figure out, and maybe we can get comments on the video to help us sort this out. Do we want to go a little bit deeper into Iraq and Afghanistan and treat them as like a single entity event, or do we want to just jump into Afghanistan and wrap this up?
All right. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and we will see you again next week. Any departing words? I think from Banafsha, it's something solidarity against systems. From Roy, it's the struggle continues. From Susie, what are your parting words?
Thanks.
Thanks. All right, y'all. We will see you next
Thomas, what about
time.
you?
No parting words.
No break.
Oh,
Nope.
I still have one more. Maybe Benefsha can tell us about No Ban, No Wall too.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
another
next
episode.
time,
That's
next
another
time.
That's another
That's
episode.
No.
another solidarity thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay.